I never thought I'd be the guy posting a story like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I'm just trying to make sense of what happened to me. My wife Emily and I had been together for about 5 years. It wasn't perfect, but I honestly thought we were solid. We had our ups and downs, sure, but I trusted her. Or at least I thought I did. Our relationship started to feel a little off a few months ago, but I chalked it up to work stress and us just growing apart. Emily had always been a little bitchy when she was annoyed. She'd snap, roll her eyes, and throw out these little lies that I knew weren't the truth but didn't bother calling her out on it. Still, I never suspected anything serious, not until the trip. We planned a little anniversary getaway, a weekend at a cozy hotel in the mountains, just us. It was supposed to be a celebration, a break from the grind. I was psyched, looking forward to reconnecting. But from the moment we checked in, something felt weird. Emily was on her phone a lot more than usual, hiding her screen when I looked her way. She'd snap at me for no reason, act tense, and I kept catching her lying about small things like where she'd been, who she'd been texting. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe she was just stressed or distracted. But then on the second night, I found out the truth. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone when I saw it, a shirt folded neatly on the chair by the window. Not just any shirt. It was blood-stained. Bright red blood smeared across the sleeve and collar. I couldn't believe my eyes. My heart started pounding out of my chest. I knew I shouldn't jump to conclusions, but I had a gut feeling I didn't want to ignore. I quietly took the shirt, feeling the dampness and the weight of it. My mind raced. Whose blood was this? Why was it here? I looked around the room, trying to find some clue, some sign of what had happened. Then I remembered the way Emily had been acting, nervous, jumpy, avoiding my eyes. The way she had snapped at me earlier that day when I asked about her phone. That's when I knew. It wasn't just a coincidence. She was hiding something, and I had just found the proof. I stayed awake all night, replaying everything in my head. When she finally fell asleep, I decided I couldn't just sit on this. I had to confront her. I didn't want to believe the worst, but deep down, I knew I was about to find out something that would shatter everything I thought I knew about her, and maybe about myself. I didn't know if I was ready for what was coming, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending I didn't see what I saw. The next morning, I woke up before Emily did. I stared at her while she slept, trying to keep my emotions in check. I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and a strange numbness. Part of me wanted to wake her up right then and force her to tell me what I already knew, that she had been cheating, that she'd been lying to my face for months. But I also knew that approach wouldn't get me anywhere. I needed to gather my thoughts, plan my next move. I slipped out of bed quietly and went straight to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror, trying to breathe evenly. My hands were trembling. I kept thinking about that blood-stained shirt I found last night. Who could she have been with? How long had this been going on? The questions kept piling up, but every answer seemed worse than the last. While Emily was still sleeping, I decided I needed to find more proof, something concrete. I remembered her phone was still on the dresser. I hesitated for a moment, knowing full well that snooping was a betrayal in itself, but I felt I had no choice. I couldn't trust her anymore. I grabbed her phone and started scrolling through her messages. It wasn't easy, knowing I was invading her privacy, but I needed to see the truth. What I found made my stomach turn. There were texts back and forth with a guy named Mark, an old college friend she'd mentioned briefly. But the messages weren't innocent. They were flirty, suggestive. And there was one that made my blood run cold. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I'll make sure you won't forget it." No doubt in my mind she was sleeping with him, probably for a while now. I was furious. I wanted to scream, break something, just drown out the pain. But instead I forced myself to keep calm. I put her phone back exactly how I found it, pretending I hadn't seen a thing. I needed to confront her, but I wanted to do it in a way that would hurt her just as much as she'd hurt me. I wanted her to feel my pain, my anger, my disillusionment. When she finally stirred, I was already sitting on the edge of the bed, cold and distant. She looked at me with that fake, innocent smile she always put on when she knew she was lying. "Good morning," she said, her voice a little too cheerful. "Morning," I replied, voice flat. "We need to talk." Her face tensed up. "Oh, what now? I told you I was tired last night. I was just exhausted from the trip." I looked her straight in the eyes. Yeah, I saw the blood-stained shirt last night. Tell me, Emily, how long has this been going on? Her eyes flicked away, then she let out a sharp laugh. Blood-stained shirt? Are you serious? You're making shit up now. I found your shirt last night. It was blood-stained. Don't deny it, I said, my voice shaking but controlled. And I found your messages with Mark. You've been lying to me all along. How long? She rolled her eyes. You're overreacting. It's nothing, just some sex, okay? You're making it a big deal. We've had rough patches and I needed some excitement. It doesn't mean I don't love you. Love. That word sounded hollow and cruel. I felt a stabbing pain hearing her say that made everything worse. How could she sit there dismissing what she'd done so casually? I wasn't even sure if I was angry or broken. All I knew was that I never felt more betrayed in my life. I thought I knew her, thought we had something real, but it was just a lie. I had to get out of there, get some space, and figure out what the hell to do next. That day was a blur. I packed my bag, told her I needed some time to think, and left the hotel without looking back. As I drove away, I couldn't stop replaying everything. The blood shirt, the texts, her smirk. I kept asking myself, was I ever really loved? Was I just a fool who believed in her lies? The pain was sharp, deep, and I knew it would take a long time to heal. But one thing was clear. This betrayal had shattered whatever trust I had left, and I wasn't sure if I'd ever be able to rebuild it. After I left the hotel, I drove for hours, trying to clear my head but only ending up with more questions than answers. Every mile away from her felt like a step further into some kind of brutal reality I hadn't seen coming. I kept thinking about her, about how she lied so effortlessly, how she convinced herself that telling those lies made her a good person. I was so angry I could taste it. But underneath that, there was annoying sadness, like I'd been replaced, discarded, made into a fool. I knew I couldn't just go back home immediately. I needed space. I needed to breathe. So I stopped at a small roadside diner, sat in a corner booth, and ordered coffee. I stared out the window, watching the world move on while my life was falling apart. I kept replaying the moment I found her messages, the blood shirt, the look on her face when she denied everything. Part of me wanted to run back, to shake her and demand the truth, but I knew that wouldn't lead anywhere good. It would just make me angrier, more betrayed. Over the next few days, I vacillated between anger and heartbreak. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smirking, heard her dismissing my pain, her words echoing in my mind. It's just sex, she said. You're overreacting. Like that was supposed to justify everything. Like I was the one being unreasonable for feeling betrayed. The more I thought about her words, the clearer it became. She never loved me the way I thought she did. She was just using me, and I was too blind to see it. I realized I had to figure out what I wanted, whether I was going to fight for this or walk away for good. I wasn't sure I could ever trust her again, not after seeing blood on her shirt and reading those dirty texts. But in that moment, I also knew that revenge wasn't just about hurting her. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my sense of self. I had been so naive, so trusting. Now I had to decide if I wanted to rebuild or just cut my losses and move on. One thing I did know, I wasn't going to let her get away with it without consequences. She thought she could lie her way out of this, brush it off, and go back to her perfect little life. But I wasn't going to be that guy anymore. I wanted her to feel how much she'd hurt me, how broken I was inside, even if I didn't show it outwardly. I started thinking about how I could turn this pain into something that would make her regret ever crossing me. And that's when I began planning my revenge, not just to hurt her, but to make her understand that betrayal has its price. I spent the next few days quietly gathering my thoughts. I didn't contact her, didn't try to explain or demand answers. I just kept to myself, letting the anger simmer beneath the surface. I wanted her to believe I was weak, that I was just going to accept her lies and move on. But inside, I was already plotting. I needed to find a way to make her see that I was no longer the fool she thought I was, that her lies had consequences and I was going to make sure she paid them. I wasn't sure how exactly I'd pull it off yet, but I knew I'd figure it out. And when I did, she wouldn't know what hit her. The day I decided to execute my plan, I felt a strange mix of calm and rage. I knew I had to be strategic. I had to make her believe I was letting her go, that I was just going to walk away and forget everything. But in reality, I was already lining up my next moves. I started by doing some research, finding out who Mark really was, where he lived, what he looked like. The details didn't take long to come together. Turns out, Mark was an old friend of hers, someone she'd casually mentioned a few times, but I never suspected they'd get this close. I needed to make her feel the weight of her betrayal, without exposing my hand too early, so I decided to turn the tables to make her believe she'd gotten away with it, only for her to realize she was always under my watch. I set up a fake social media profile, a new email, and started following her activities. I kept tabs on her, watching her every move from a distance. Every new message, every stolen moment, I recorded it all. I wanted to keep her confused, to make her think she had outsmarted me when she hadn't. Meanwhile, I also reached out to a private investigator I knew. I didn't want to go full stalker, but I needed evidence that could really hurt her if it came to that. The investigator was discreet, got me recordings of her meeting Mark, some photos, even videos of her sneaking out late at night to see him. It all confirmed what I already knew, but seeing it with my own eyes, hearing her voice talking about the thrill and not wanting to get caught, made my blood boil. This wasn't just some fling. It was a full-blown affair, and she'd been lying to my face for months. I didn't plan on confronting her right away. Instead, I wanted her to think she still had the upper hand, to believe she'd gotten away with her lies. I wanted her to be comfortable enough to slip up, to make a mistake. So I kept my nerve and let her believe I was still in the dark, that I was just going to walk away and accept it. But behind the scenes, I was ready. I had everything I needed: proof, evidence, a clear plan. And then I made my move, not with words but with the perfect setup. I left her a note, one that looked innocent but hinted that I knew everything. It read, "Don't bother trying to deny it. I know about you and Mark. I saw everything. You betrayed me in the worst way, and I'm done pretending. Don't contact me again." I left it where she'd find it, in the pillowcase, right beside her phone. It was a simple message, but it was enough to let her know I'd caught her, and I wasn't going to let her run away from it. I watched her reaction from a distance after she saw the note. Her face went pale, and for the first time in days I saw genuine fear, fear that her secrets had been exposed, that her carefully constructed lies were crumbling. That moment gave me a strange sense of satisfaction. It was the beginning of her fall, and I was just getting started. That's when I realized I was finally in control, and she was the one who was about to get hurt. After planting the note and gathering all my evidence, I waited for her to come home that evening. I knew she'd be nervous, maybe even panicked. I wanted her to feel trapped, to see that her secrets weren't safe anymore. When she finally walked in, I could tell she'd been crying, her eyes red and her face pale. She looked around nervously, like she was expecting me to jump out at her or confront her right then. But I didn't say a word. Instead, I just sat on the couch, watching her, letting the silence hang heavy. She tried to act casual, but her hands trembled when she reached for her phone. I saw her glance at the note on the pillow, her eyes flickering with panic. That was the moment I knew I had her exactly where I wanted her. I finally broke the silence. "So Emily," I started, voice calm but cold, "I found your blood-stained shirt, and I saw the messages, the ones with Mark. Do you want to tell me what's really going on?" She tried to deny it at first, flipping her hair, giving me that fake bitchy smile. "Oh, come on, Jake, you're overreacting. That shirt is nothing, just a stupid accident. I don't know what you're even talking about." I shook my head slowly, pulling out the evidence I had saved on my phone. "You think I'm stupid? I've seen enough for myself. You've been cheating on me, Emily, and I have proof. Pictures, videos, you name it." Her face twisted with anger, then with guilt, then with disgust. "You're crazy. You're reading into things. I don't know what you want from me. It's just sex, okay? It doesn't mean anything. I never loved Mark. It's just sex," I interrupted, feeling my blood boil. "That's all you think it is, huh? You think I don't see how you lied? How you've been sneaking around behind my back? Do you even care how this makes me feel?" She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Feel, please, you're so dramatic. You're just jealous because I still look good and I'm not dead inside like you. Honestly, I don't even know why I married you. If you weren't such a bore, maybe I'd still want you." That hit me hard. Her words, her attitude, they stung worse than any physical blow. I thought about all those nights I tried to be patient, to fix things, to make her happy, and she just spat in my face. I wanted to scream, to break something, but I kept my voice steady. "You're done." "I'm done." That's when she started crying, fake tears rolling down her cheeks, but I could see through it. She knew she'd been caught, completely exposed. I told her to pack her things, that I wanted her out of my house, out of my life. She tried to argue, tried to lie some more, but I wasn't having any of it. I told her she had no right to call herself a wife, no right to pretend she loved me, not after what she did. As she packed her bags, she kept insisting she loved me, that she'd never cheat if I just gave her one more chance, but I didn't buy it, not anymore. I realized I'd been blind for too long, and I didn't want to spend another second pretending I didn't see who she really was. When she finally left, I felt numb. The house was eerily quiet. I knew this was the end of a chapter I'd thought would last forever. I sat alone in the empty room, staring at the walls, feeling the weight of betrayal crushing me. I'd never felt so broken, so unsure of myself. But deep down, I knew one thing. I was finally free of her lies. And maybe, just maybe, I could start healing from all this. In the days that followed, everything felt surreal. My house was empty, the silence louder than any words could be. I kept replaying her face when she left, the way she looked at me with that fake remorse and false promises. It's like I was watching a bad movie, except this time, I was the one who had been played. The trust I once had in her feels like it's been shredded into tiny pieces I don't know how to pick up. I've never felt more betrayed in my entire life. What's worse is the lingering doubt. Did she ever truly love me? Or was I just some placeholder in her life, someone she settled for until something better came along? That question haunts me more than I care to admit. I keep asking myself if I was ever loved, or if I was just convenient. The blood on her shirt, the secret texts, the sneaking around, none of it was just about sex. It was her way of throwing everything away, of destroying what we built without a second thought. And I let her do it, thinking she cared, thinking she loved me enough to be honest. Honestly, I don't even know if I want to rebuild. Part of me wants to forget her completely and move on, erase her from my life, from my mind. But another part, smaller, quieter, feels like I need to understand what went wrong to make sense of it all. I know now that love isn't enough sometimes. Trust is what holds everything together, and once that's gone, nothing remains but pain and anger. I've started seeing a therapist, trying to piece myself back together. It's a slow process. Every day I wake up, feeling the weight of her betrayal, but I also remind myself that I deserve better. I've learned a hard lesson about trust, about vulnerability, about love that's conditional and lies that cut deep. I see now that I was fooling myself for too long, ignoring the warning signs, dismissing the small lies that piled up until they became impossible to ignore. Looking back, I realized that I needed this wake-up call. It's shown me what I should never accept again, how to recognize red flags early, and how to value myself enough to walk away when something's broken beyond repair. I don't regret ending things. No, that pain is better than the constant betrayal I lived with. Now I want to rebuild myself, to find happiness again, knowing I've survived something brutal but necessary. And honestly, I hope she gets what she deserves. Not revenge, not hatred, just the realization that her actions have consequences. That lying and cheating can't be hidden forever, and eventually the truth comes out. Maybe someday she'll understand how much she hurt me, but at this point, I don't care about her anymore. I care about healing, about moving forward, about finding some semblance of peace again. This whole experience has changed me. I don't trust easily now. I'm more cautious, more guarded, but I'm also stronger. I know I'll get through this, even if it takes a long, long time. Because the one thing I've learned is that betrayal can break you, but it can also teach you how to rebuild. And I intend to do just that.